Hello and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group and principal of the Bradford Group Consulting. And our role in this world is to help create intersect between businesses and their financial solution. And we do so by providing strategic consulting to help position businesses to stay relevant, but also to find the money. We are mortgage brokers on the commercial and investment side of the house. And we know how important it is, especially if you own that brick and mortar business, looking at making sure you're strategically positioned for success in your business, but also how you might harvest equity to help grow and expand your business. I'm so excited because today we have a very special guest, Paula Denoncourt, who I will bring to the stage very shortly. And we are going to be talking about why businesses need money to win. It seems like it's a common sense thing, right? But so often businesses are chasing the dollar of our clients, which is important, right? But when we're thinking strategically and positioning ourselves, we need to think about current finances, for sustainability, also finances for growth and expansion. And that doesn't always come from our customers. And so Paula and I are going to get into that discussion. And it's perfect timing because it is Financial Literacy Month. And we want to make sure that our women out there, whether you're business owners, entrepreneurs, thinking about being in business, or perhaps you are an employee, or maybe you're even a stay-at-home mom or retired, whatever you are, we want you to have the knowledge that you need in order to create the financial sustainability today for an improved future for tomorrow. So before we bring Paula on, I want to give a salute to our sponsor, the Diamond Factor. How's it going, Paula?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for saying yes, taking time out of your busy schedule to join us during this Financial Literacy Month. I want to tell for those I know you may have seen Paula on some of our platforms, but some of you may not know who Paula is. So in addition to being a health and wellness coach and advocate, she also knows that not only taking care of our bodies and minds are important, but also finding wellness in our finances. And she has partnered as an independent consultant with David Allen Capital. And it is designed to help find those alternative solutions to your financial woes when you're a business owner. We know so many people are looking for that their goose with a golden egg, right? And one of the things that Paula has experienced just from her own experiences of trying to find a way to fund her business, she created a solution in this partnership with the company. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about why she became excited about finances, the solutions and the bridge that she offers to other business owners like herself. And then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into actually some of the tools, the resources that she has and how you can tap into them. So welcome, Paula.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it is Financial Literacy Month. And, if you had told me years ago that I would be doing a talk on finances, I would have been like, what? Almost like nutrition. I just never know where you're going to fall into. So I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited to be here because I have my own. When you're ready, I will tell my own story of how I came to do help with business and financing.
Mm-hmm. Well, why don't we start right now? Let's do the once upon a time. So Paula, take it away. Tell us a story about how you came into the financial world, and why is it a
Sure.
passion of yours to help other people elevate their awareness and their solvency?
Okay, sure. So I started my business around 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. So I got sick, and from getting sick, I had to help myself. I had to help myself get better. So I became a health coach from that. I didn't know anything about business. So let me back up. What did I come from? I worked in a prison for 22 years. I was a dispatcher. For some of those years, I think like 6 or so, I was a secretary or an administrative assistant, whatever word you want to use. But I knew nothing about business. People started to talk about meeting at like 7 a.m. at networking meetings. I'm like, networking? What's that? I didn't know what that means. And for anybody out there, what does networking mean? It means to group together businesses and get to know one another and how you can help each other. And even networking in itself can be a business. It can be an art. It can be, there's a strategy to it. Some people go to a networking event, they get their business cards, they don't know what they're doing. They're just like, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. Of course, now things are getting more digital. Here's my phone, here's my phone. But there's a strategy to it. You have to figure out how to take care of those other businesses. How can you help them? So these are these things, some of these things that I had to learn. The biggest one was money. I thought, by starting my own business, I actually had an office. I had an office space. I was still working at the prison. But I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Not gonna lie. I went to the School of Integrative Nutrition. They did teach a little bit on business. They talked a little bit about things like the Chamber of Commerce. For those of you who don't know, if you are in business, that is a big place you do want to get to know. If you don't join it, just start going to some of their events, and you'll get to know the businesses in your community, and they will help you. They help you as far as much as you want to be helped. They're not going to bend over backwards and give you everything under the sun without you reaching out. You do have to do your own due diligence and really dig in, I guess you should say.
Let's pause right there, because you just gave a little nugget. So whenever I hear little nuggets, I want to
Yeah.
sit in it for a minute.
Yeah.
And you just said, not only as a business owner, how important it is to understand what's happening in your local area,
Right.
and partnering and building relationships with other business owners, right? Even though we are growing more and more in the virtual space, we don't live in a virtual world, right? So when we are able to tap into and plug into these other businesses, you never know what resources and doors may open up for you. So back to you. Good point.
Right. And so just kind of going back to the money piece, you can't just sit at a desk and expect people to be knocking at your door. And which is kind of the impression I had. I was clueless. I worked in a prison for 22 years. I didn't know people met at 7 a.m. in the morning before they started their own self-employed jobs, or they were working for other people, and just referred each other's businesses and talked to each other. I knew nothing about this world. I knew nothing about the Chamber of Commerce. And oddly enough, shout out to my sister, she's actually a president of one now. She's in Malden, Mass. So, kudos to her for doing that, because it's a lot of work. But you've got to reach out to your community. They're the ones that are going to help you get your clients and your customers. You've got to build the trust factor. They've got to know, like, and trust you. You can't just sit at a desk and, even the people in the building, you can't just rely on them to get you customers. It's a lot of work. You've got to get out there. So back to the money piece, that I'm renting an office now, and let's face it, I'm not making enough money to pay for that office space. So the doors had to close. I couldn't do it. So fast forward, now I've partnered with another company so that I can make some more money in two different businesses, not just one. But that's, it's been really eye-opening and challenging. So one of the ways I relied on for getting more money is not the right way. Do not do it this way. I did it on personal credit. I even had an equity loan in my house, and I used that to go back to school, which I was going to School of Integrative Nutrition. And from there, I was spending money on the business. Things I didn't know I was going to have to spend money on, like brochures and business cards. That was a really big expense. And let's face it, I'd go to Staples and then, I have to get them again. I have to get them again. It's like that adds up. You have to.
Let's pause. Let's pause right
Yeah.
there, because you were talking about how you started building your business and finding money, and
Right.
there are numerous ways, and the bucket that fits in what Paula just described is considered. It's called bootstrapping. That's where you are finding through your own resources a way to fund your businesses, and most businesses start that way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking for angel investors, for example, they want to know how much have you invested in your business, because if you're not willing to
Yeah.
be sold out for what you want others to join in, it's going to be really hard. And even when you're going to, so that's the bootstrapping component. And then we know we have your traditional loans, your banks. That comes with a whole different set of requirements. How long have you
Right.
been in business? Uh, Sometimes they want to look at your, the amount of receipts that you're taking in, your business plan. It's a bit more complex.
Right.
And as I mentioned, angel investors, they are silent investors and they just want to pull in how much they're going to get back as far as a return. But then you also have those that say, I want to invest in, but then I want a percentage of. So I wanted to just talk a little bit to the audience out there, and I'd like to get your thoughts, Paula. So often, business owners, small businesses, and small businesses, I'm not necessarily talking about a 1 or 2 person shop. I'm talking about small business as far as the amount of income you're generating.
Mm-hmm.
But even those, the solopreneur or your mom and pop operations, you have to operate strategically if you want to ultimately be one of the major players or minor players. You have to start thinking that way, and determining what is it that you need beyond, like you said, customers knocking at my door. And I'll give you a quick story, and I want to turn it back to you, Paula. My very first business out of college, I had several smaller businesses, but my first serious brick and mortar was a licensed sporting apparel store that we started from soup to nuts, everything, getting the space, building out the space, signage, marketing, everything. It wasn't a franchise that we tapped into. And we were doing very well. Well, what we didn't bank on was expansion capital. And when we
Mm.
needed expansion capital, and we're making orders, but then in order to secure those orders, we have to be able to have the revenue to pay for the orders so then we can meet
Right.
customer demands. And it became that vicious cycle, right, Paula?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you experience that? Because you mentioned you had your office, and you had to close the doors of your office building, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's there's so many things you need money for, and a client or a couple of it's you've got to have extra capital. You just have to. You're going to have marketing expenses for things like business cards, brochures, flyers, making, even if it's virtual. You can't do it all yourself. Maybe you can do a good portion of it, but it gets monotonous. So even if you pay Fiverr, it adds up. You've got to have an email campaign. You can do it free for so long. You've got to have, if you're doing courses, a platform for courses, platform for landing pages, all this stuff, all it adds up. I mean, I took a business coaching program and it was great, but I have to say that was the one piece that was missing, was the fact that you had, after the paying for all the coaching, now you had to pay for all the extras, your email campaign, your landing pages. And if you didn't start getting the clients like you thought you would, how are you going to do it all? How are you going to pay for the coaching plus your email campaign plus, you know what I mean? So I've learned all these things. I've learned where there's platforms that have a good majority of everything, that you can kind of niche it down a little bit so that, you know, you can have your courses on there, you can have your landing pages on there. So that helps. It'll lower the cost, because it all adds up quickly.
It does. And, you know, we just finished tax due date, right? So I'm certain those business owners
Yeah.
out there and individuals, you were probably surprised at how much you spent during that year. If you're not tracking it on a
Right.
monthly basis and assessing, okay, I'm investing in this training or I'm investing in this technology, did you attach an ROI to it, that return of investment? You should.
Yeah.
So if you're spending out, what's coming in, right? What's coming in to offset that, so you ultimately begin to actually make money. And Barbara won't mind me sharing this, and I'm sharing this with you because you know Barbara. But we were talking, this was maybe 3 years ago, and she was rocking and rolling in this one particular lane, and she said she thought she was doing really well until tax time.
Oh, no.
And she realized she didn't make money. She lost money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not always what's coming in, but you got to compare it to what's going out. And then what are you actually able to run your business on and then pay yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
Pay yourself. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a lot. Like even when I was back in Massachusetts, I haven't been doing them now because we had the pandemic hit and everything, but I was doing classes with food and I would just barely break even because by the time I bought the food, taught the class, I wasn't making much money. So you've got to learn how to, what's the word I want? Do it strategically. You know, if I were to do that again, I'm going to find people that'll donate food. I'm going to go to farmers markets. You know, I'm not buying the food because it's just too hard to buy the food, get the client to buy the class that equals the amount of the food. You know, what's another way that you can do it, still make a decent amount, and you can help out a farmer too. You know what I mean? Like you're advertising their business by doing these classes. So
Right.
if I do,
Yeah. And like what you said about donating, again, that's where you're, as a business owner, put on your strategic cap. And that's a muscle that has to be exercised. It is not innate.
right.
Thinking strategically is not how we are naturally wired. So you have to tune yourself to begin to think beyond what you can see in front of you. And that's a brilliant, again, another nugget. You want to feed your clients.
Yeah.
Other people want to advertise. You go knock on the door, ask Chick-fil-A, Panera Bread, hey, I've got this event. I'll have a banner, poster of you up, give some of your flyers. Would you mind donating some breakfast sandwiches? Right? You'd be surprised how many will say yes.
Yeah, and that's where connecting to your community really comes into play. Chamber of Commerce and other groups too. You know, look, Google it. If you do like Eventbrite, you'll see all the events. When I first moved to North Carolina from Massachusetts, I didn't know, you know, of course, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, but I didn't know what else would be here. I couldn't believe all the business networking events that were going on. So just Google business events, and then you'll start to see the Eventbrite events. Of course, you can do it online too, because there's a lot online because of the pandemic. But people have been, you know, opening up more. So if you want to get out there, that's, you know, that comes with really doing that, checking out events and connecting, partnering with other people. Then you'll get that more strategic idea instead of trying to do it on your own. That's another mistake. I kind of will say I like to try and figure things out on my own instead of asking somebody, and that's the worst thing to do in business. You know, you really do need to ask for help. I will say I was a big part of BNI for about 5 years. Shout out to my Mass people, BNI, they rocked. I went to other events where I could tell people were never a BNI member, because I learned a lot from being a BNI member. BNI stands for Business Networking International. And it can be a little bit pricey to join, but let me tell you, I learned a lot from being in it. I was a visitor host. I did membership committee. I did vice president. I did ambassador. And it just taught me a lot of how to run a business, basically, because BNI is a business. And when I go to other events, sometimes I can just tell that they just don't think like a BNI person would, so it's just interesting. So that's a great place. You can visit a couple of times before they make you join. Another thing you can do, you can sub for other people once in a while. They don't like people that are constantly subbing. They know you're just doing that so you don't have to join. But yeah, just bounce around, sub a few chapters here and there, and you'll get to know more businesses that way too.
Well, I'm going to have a commercial pause, and we'll be right back with Paula Denoncourt to talk about all businesses need money to win.
Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Well, we are back here for the second half of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators. I am LaWanna Bradford here with our guest, Paula Denoncourt, and we are talking about all businesses need money to win. So we've started this talking about some things a little outside of money, so you may think. But again, your network is your net worth. So understanding who's in your community, creating those connections, valuable connections. Don't always go to see what can I get, but what can you give? How can you serve? How are you showing up to the world? Because the world will respond to you in kind. But we want to take this to a deeper level now. We get it. It's a pandemic. Women have been hit harder than any group. Most industries that women have been in were closed, shut down. When you're thinking about the hospitality, travel, so much more, restaurant industry. So those shut down, their doors closed, we came home and often found ourselves sandwiched, taking care of elderly parents as well as children. we lost more money during the pandemic than any time in recent history for women. So the strides that we were celebrating, we're now in catch-up mode. And it's a little bit more challenging for the entrepreneur trying to catch up in this hybrid world of ours now, especially if you may have lost so much. And Paula's going to tell us about another source of financing beyond your traditional, beyond bootstrapping, beyond angel investors, beyond tapping into, which I did during the 2007-2008 mortgage crisis. I tapped into my future. I pulled down almost all of my retirement, going from 1.2 million to $7,800. Not a good thing, but I was trying to survive. I was trying to keep everyone still employed, but I could have thought a little bit differently. And maybe if this opportunity had existed back then, I might have tapped on their door. So why don't you tell us a little bit about David Allen Capital and your partnership with this amazing company?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this company. I love it because the owner is in it all the time. He's in the Facebook group. He's in every single training. He's just really in it. His family is in it. His daughter, his mother, she's 80. She helps out. It's family oriented. They're all in it to win it. So let me tell you a little bit about it. So going back to what you were saying, the traditional way, and this is okay. If this is what you can do, I don't negate that at all. Some people can't go to a bank. They may not be approved if they need extra money for their business capital. It may take 6 months to go to a bank. You need a lot of documentation through a bank. You might need collateral through a bank. So if you do something like David Allen Capital, depending on the size of it's a merchant cash advance, but it's a type of a loan. If you do a smaller one, you might get money within 24 hours to 2 days tops, depending if it's a weekend or whatever. If it's a higher amount, then it would take a few days. Bank could take 6 months. For a restaurant, they might close the doors in 6 months. They might not have 6 months to stay open. Now we do business lines of credit. So maybe people like construction people might need more vehicles or more construction equipment. I didn't know this, but a lot of construction people need, again, here we go, you need more money before the client pays you. So they need a lot of stuff, materials, before they even start a project. Well, they may not have that money right up front from the customer. So we can provide them with a business line of credit, and they just decide, whatever they get approved for, they can draw on it. They don't have to take that whole amount all at once. So that's another.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Do they deal with any industry, or are there industries that are exempt from this loan program?
It's almost any industry. There might be like one or two that are like really, really high risk that probably wouldn't get approved, but it's almost any industry. As long as there's different guidelines. Yeah, there's different.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit about the guidelines. So if I were looking for just let's say I needed an influx of 40,000 that I wanted versus maybe a $40,000 line of credit. If you could give us just an example without us getting too far in the weeds, what would make me position the ideal client for either a straight loan or a line of credit?
Okay, so they have to be making at least $5,000 a month for the last 3 months. And then the credit score is a soft pull, and it's a 550 credit score or higher if you have higher. So then they pull your bank statements, and then they just look to see, if anything's been like any non-sufficient funds or anything like that. So then there's a certain percentage that they would look at for 40,000 to see what you would qualify for.
Now, are they looking only at, because I know like on the mortgage side, we have business purpose loans, and most people don't realize that if you own commercial property that you can get business purpose loans. It's not to buy refinance so much your property, but for the use within your business. So with these individuals, you said 550 credit score, which is low. It's amazing that they will
Yeah, that's
consider that.
the lower amount loans, up to, I think it's like 25K. And then anything higher than that, of course, their credit score has to be a little bit higher. It has to be more like 600, I think, something like that. Yeah. So the
Okay.
higher ones are definitely a higher credit score. It actually was 450. They just went up a little bit just because, you don't want anybody faulting on it or any of that kind of thing going on. And then in May,
Exactly.
yeah.
Do they so like you said, 550 minimum, which is amazing. But
Mhm.
if you find yourself in the 550 range, that's another financial discussion. So next week we're going to have someone talk about credit and building
Yeah.
your credit.
Yeah. Mhm.
But you mentioned bank statements, that they look at your bank statements. Do they look at business bank statements, personal bank statements, or a combination?
Business.
Okay.
What's the business doing? Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, any, non-sufficient funds or anything like that they're looking for. They want to make sure, you're able to pay it back. And, you want to know. So here's something to think about, that it's not meant for somebody who's just struggling. It's just meant for somebody to get an extra hand up to keep it going. So like I said, maybe a restaurant needs to keep going. They're just barely making it. They need a little extra push. Maybe it's somebody that needs more office space, or they just need more construction, or even here's another one we've had financing for, and I would never thought of this, but physical therapists, because the insurance pays them. So they needed money in the meantime until the insurance pays them, because they weren't getting the money right away from the insurance. So things like
I
that.
have a question for you. So this is it's not so uncommon.
Mhm.
But those who are in the service related industry, whether you might be a consultant or it's a commission based structure, i.e. mortgages, you don't unless you close a loan, you're not getting paid unless you're sitting on someone's payroll, but that payroll is still tied to that mortgage loan. So what about individuals who may not get that biweekly influx of funds, where it may be a big project that, and I'm just going to use a commercial deal, for example. Commercial deals take some time, anywhere from 60 to 90 days, depending on the complexity of it.
Mhm.
But you may be rocking and rolling $2 million annually. But it sounds like on your program, if they're not seeing this deposit every month, you would be disqualified, even though I may have a 2 month gap, and then I'm putting in $250,000, then a 2 month gap. So can you help us understand that?
Yeah, they honestly they don't. They prefer not to do that, but they could check it out and talk with them. But honestly, yeah, they don't. They prefer not to do that. They want something that's coming in more steadily, which is understandable. I know what you're saying, but what if, you know, further down the line they never got that money? You know what I mean? Like now you got nothing until then. So
Right, but I'm just saying, if you see, because now we're going raw now. So if someone has been in business, and I'm using mortgages as an example,
right,
especially in the commercial side, because it does take a lot of time. So you may have several things in the pipeline, but they hit, like I said, it's not every month, but someone who may make $60,000 because they're able to show 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 qualifies, but someone who makes $2 million a year, because you're saying they don't fit in that
yeah.
consistent niche, even though they can show you historically what they make, they wouldn't fit your program.
For the most part, like I said, it probably wouldn't, but I wouldn't disqualify it, because you never know. They could, say, okay, this has been consistent. They don't have any non-sufficient funds. I would say it couldn't hurt to check it out. It's free to check it out. You know what I mean? And they may qualify for a business line of credit too. So instead of just funding. So
they look at, so the qualifications for the line of credit is a little different.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there anything for our listening audience? We're talking about all businesses need money to win, and this is one of the solutions with David Allen Capital and Paula Denoncourt. How what would they have to do to qualify for a line of credit? Because I think lines of credit are very helpful for businesses to
Yep.
have.
So you could just, if you go to the website, the Easy Business Money, EZBIZ Money, it's bit.ly/easy bit, bleh, Easy Business Money. I can't say it. Not business, Easy Biz Money. If you go to that, it will tell you all the qualifications on there. You can do the business line of credit. You can apply for business line of credit. Or just business funding. It's all on there. And we also do a few other things too. We do payment processing, client financing. So if you need for your clients to pay you, we do that too. Do clients payments, and they just put on healthcare, and then starting in May, we're going to start doing things like gig workers and 1099. So it'll be less qualifications. They won't have to.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they won't have to have a business account. It can be a personal. Once again, it'll just be more based on consistency. Not a lot of non-sufficient funds and things like that. So yeah,
I love hearing that for the gig workers, because now you're looking at those independent consultants that are out there, and that even during the stimulus time with the PPP program, that was another issue. It's like, okay, don't forget us out here, right?
Yeah.
Because they are a very specific group that may or may not have a business account, but they do provide valuable service to our economy. So that is good to hear that they're going to expand to our gig workers and contractors, consultants.
Yeah. So that's going to start in May. We just started doing healthcare. That's US based. So if you're trying to look to save some money on healthcare, you can check that out as well. If you need the link for the healthcare, let me know. You can reach out to me on my email, enrichyourhealth1@gmail.com. And that's with a UR, ENRICHURHALTH, 1@gmail.com. Because the healthcare one is, I think, a different link. So I'd have to give you the link for that. But so we're doing healthcare now, so you can save money on your healthcare if you're trying to look to save some money that way, or you need healthcare for your employees. We do that as well. So we're really expanding. He said they had one of their best months last month. So it's really expanding and growing. People need to get funding, whether it's a business line of credit or just a merchant cash advance. Like I said, it's not really a loan. It's helping businesses. It's just, like I said, it's not meant for people that are just struggling, and because you're not going to be able to pay the loan back if you're struggling. You've got to be able to have something. But it's another alternative. It can be tough to get, grant money is great, but it's still tough to get. Like you said, angel investors, there is, different angel investors out there. There's all different ways, but I'm excited about this company. I like everything they have to offer. So yeah, I'm excited about it. So anybody out there that, and it's free to just apply. If you want to check, make sure you know what the guidelines are, feel free to reach out to me, or just click on the link. You'll see what all the guidelines are. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Paula, can you believe we are almost out of time? So I'm just going to give you a few minutes to share any other nuggets that you'd like with our audience, and anything else you'd like to share. Okay?
Yeah, so just to kind of wrap it up, summarize what I said, don't use your personal credit like I did to get your business going. Find another way to have some money on the side. Build business credit. You don't necessarily have to do David Allen Capital. Build business credit. Start learning about that. I know a resource for that. If you want to reach out to me, I'll give you that resource. You can build business credit and then start doing it through that. Do it through business credit. We talked about connecting with your community so other people can help you. if you're online, connect with Facebook groups like LaWanna and celebrate you. She's amazing. I'm so thankful for her in this group. Things like that. You can start reaching out to people that way. Don't feel like you're alone when it comes to getting money, because you'd be surprised how many business people want to help other business people. I do find women especially want to help each other. So there's that. What other nuggets do I want to share? I think I'm at a loss. I think I said it all. But yeah, just reach out to other people. Don't feel like you're by yourself, and definitely join powerful groups. Join the really powerful groups that have a lot of people in there.
Paula, I want to put in the scroll in the feed your email address. Can I get that again, please?
Yeah, it's Enrich Your Health with the number 1. So it's ENRICHURHEALTH number 1 at gmail.com.
And that's for healthcare information?
Yeah, healthcare or even David Allen Capital. I have the same email for both for now. I need to get another one.
Okay, perfect. This has been great. Thank you so much for saying yes. I hope those of you who tuned in to Business and Financial Raw Talk, whether you looking at it live or the replay, got some nuggets out from Paula, nuggets about being strategic in your focus, minimizing, tapping into your precious resources like your future,
Yeah, I used a little my retirement as well. You're frozen.
Understand what your needs are.
Yeah.
Not just from a customer standpoint, but what do you need to be solvent? And don't be afraid to ask, and understand the importance of networking. There is value in the network. I love that you started off with that, and tap into your chamber of commerce. Become active in your local community. It will support you in return, right, Paula?
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, Paula, thank you again so very much for joining us. To our listening audience, thank you for being a part of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no holds barred forum for leaders and innovators. We will be back next week, where we're going to wrap up our financial literacy month, but finance is always on our mind on this stage. So you will never be too far away from promoting their message and the importance of understanding and expanding your knowledge and increasing your net worth so you can have more impact, more influence, and bring in more income for yourself. And just remember, in life and in business, when your vision aligns with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you again, Paula. And before we close, again, our salute and prayers to Ukraine.